TS Galaxy acquiring a PSL franchise really came about after the success we've had last year. The incredible success at that. As it is, we are the record holders. I think being the only club ever from the lower ranks to win an FA Cup, which in SA we call it the Nedbank Cup. We know that other countries also do have the similar kind of a football competition. Maybe in other countries it could have happened in 1910 or 30s, I don't know. But in recent times, we are the only club in the world actually to have done it. So when you achieve such, really, as the person in the lead, it will cause you to think and say, look, doesn't now this require us to be at the highest possible level? This kind of an achievement is just indicative as to the capability and the potential of this kind of a club. So we took it seriously. Then we started moving quite aggressively in our efforts of acquiring a PSL franchise. The first stop, or our first stop rather, was Bloemfontein Celtic, as you would have known. In March we signed. The agreement had some milestones, all to be met by the last day of May. But leading to that time, then there was a huge outcry from the masses in the Free State, you know, the lovers of Bloemfontein Celtic. And we looked at it, we said, you know what, we don't want to be immortalized in that manner by the people of the province. Celtic is a very beautiful club. It's one of those spiritual clubs. It's not one club that can easily be bought or be moved, in my humble opinion, and now talking with experience. So we said, let's rather call upon any person from that region or potential investor at that who has an interest in the club, you know, to assist in rescuing the club. Because what had caused the owner to consider selling was their financial views. You know, we all know about them. I think they are well documented everywhere in the last 4 seasons or so. So we then called upon, you know, those type of people to chip in and help this club. And we went as far as saying we would be even very happy to know that such person would have come out following the effort or the attempt by TS Galaxy, you know. So, and I read about 1 or 2 people who were up to it. They wanted to rescue the club. I'm not sure how far that went. However, that caused us to stay put. But then we did also say that we will certainly come in and purchase their status should it be that there's no one who's coming to rescue the club from that region. So then, while we were waiting in the wings, boom, we caught wind of the fact that Bidvest were available. We chased that opportunity, and then we were told that it's taken by TTM. And then some few days thereafter, we caught wind of the fact that Highlands Park was possibly available, and we chased that opportunity. And we became third time lucky, and today, as we speak, we are here with TS Galaxy now having acquired the PSL status of Highlands Park. Buying and selling of professional football club status really comes as a matter of course in business. So a football club as a business is an investment, you know, by the owners or shareholders. So meaning that they inject capital into it, or in which case at best they'd want to see returns. So if now the time comes where this asset is burning them, i.e. they cannot sustain it anymore, what then do? You dispose of the asset. It comes naturally. So it's an asset in your hand that is burning you, that you want to dispose of it. It comes about in that way, nothing else, to be honest. People don't just sell, you know. It's an asset that they can sustain and maybe build even to be what it can be. For example, Chiefs. Do you think tomorrow you can wake up and be so? No chance. I don't think so. And the same would go with Pirates and maybe Sundowns. However, those other clubs that really they cannot be sustained from a business point of view, owners look at it and say there's no point in having them, so they dispose of them. So, but people will criticize that without understanding that in business you cannot retain and keep an asset that you cannot sustain. Otherwise it will be liquidated anyway, it will go under. Right? To avoid that, you just dispose of the asset. And if they are takers, lucky you, you make your money, you recover your losses, and you move on with life. So it comes about in that way. Right? The moving of the club to a different region and all that comes in a situation where the now new owner calls the shot. They can make their own decisions as to how they want to position their brands, where and when. So, you know, again, it's something that is difficult for a person to be against. People decide on things, on their investments as they wish to do so. And there's nothing that precludes them from doing so. In fact, if anything, everything else allows them because they will be owning this asset. So they can do as they see fit. So then in this case, or in a football instance, the owners would decide to move the club and base it where it is strong. Case in point is TS Galaxy. We are quite strong in the region of Mpumalanga. We originate from there. So the status, we've bought it, we become that Mpumalanga club that we have been all along. All right. I'm saying that knowing very well that we are quite strong where Highlands Park was. Hence, we would have Mahulong Stadium as our alternative. As a matter of fact, many don't know that we have more supporters in Tembisa than Highlands Park. When TS Galaxy played there, two back-to-back matches last season against Cosmos, we filled that main stand to capacity. You know, Jomoson himself came to me and said, Tim, where do you get all these people? You know, because they come from here. There's lots of Ndebele speaking people there. There's lots of Pedi speaking people there. You know, and we all from the similar region. I'm talking now from a geographical location. So, and they're all our supporters. You know, people said, geez, when Highlands Park play here, we haven't seen so many people unless it's Kaiser Chiefs, you know. So, I mean, they were all branded red. That's what we do at TS Galaxy. Our supporters are clearly branded. I mean, we would have seen them when we played Kaiser Chiefs in the Nedbank Cup. That entire grandstand was red. Usually when we play Chiefs at Moses Mabhida, you won't be seen as a club. It will be black and gold across the stadium. But on that night, any person who would have entered the stadium not knowing, but would have known, and they realize upon entering that there's an opponent here, they will be wearing red, and that was TS Galaxy. So the same applies at Mahulong. So they will retain that as our alternative venue. But then in general, the change of venue is informed by shareholder decision, you know, or the owner of the asset at the time, and nothing precludes that. Football ownership does come with returns, right? Hence, you would have successful owners of clubs. You know, you can look at the most successful clubs in this country. You will see that the people who own, or the investor who would have been investors earlier on, are quite successful. You know, it stems from there for sure. It's a question of how you do the business, how you apply yourself, and your management practices, corporate governance, business decisions, corporate partners, the brand itself, how do you grow it, and then I think that should bring about success. To run a PSL club successfully, you'd certainly need to be strong financially. Testimony to that is the strongest clubs in the country are those that have the money, to be honest. So that you'd need. I'm not claiming that TS Galaxy has all the money right now, but I'm sure that the kind of a brand that we're putting out there will attract a lot of financial support. You know, corporates wants to be they want to be associated with success. I think TS Galaxy has illustrated its potential in that front, you know, of being a very successful brand. As a matter of fact, we've been the fastest growing football brand in the last year or so in this country since the aftermath of our Nedbank Cup conquest of Kaizer Chiefs. So we are talking to a number of corporates, and I'm almost certain that by the start of this season, we will be having some corporate supporter or partner in the form of a franchise or headline sponsor. And and that will set us up, to be honest. But then you do need money. You know, it's another game altogether. You know, what would have been your highest earning player in the NFD, here the same amount becomes the entry level, so to speak. So if on average, if a well-run NFT club would cost 800,000 plus minus, so a PSL club could be at least double and maybe slightly more to that amount. So you should be running a PSL club should be costing around 1.682 million, 2.6, there or thereabout. That's why the monthly grant of 2 million doesn't cover everything. You would need a corporate partner, you know, to support you. We, as the TS Galaxy, as the purchasers, will step into the shoes of the seller, in this case Highlands Park, from an employees or contracted players point of view. So therefore this means that on day one, TS Galaxy would take over all the contracted players as is. So they come with a transaction, right? And then having taken them over, however, it doesn't mean that as TS Galaxy you shouldn't reinforce your club. There's nothing that prohibits you from doing so. So more so that you are this kind of a club that has acquired a status of a club that you knew very well, that comes with the players that you knew very well. So I would think that we took over knowing very well what could be the strengths of Highlands Park team and all the weaknesses as such, you know, and therefore that will talk to reinforcements, where they would need to be reinforced and how so. So in the nature of the game of football, when reinforcements happen, there would naturally be players that will be let go. It happens season in, season out in all clubs in every country of the world. If you bring it locally, here we're talking about Sundowns, for example, that has already signed 11 players over and above a squad of 30-something or 40 players that they have. You know, that naturally talks to players that will have to be let go to open the space or the gap for those that supposedly are coming in and they're in the plans of the technical team. So the same will apply here. However, in our case though, it will happen insofar as we honor the current contracts of these players. To the extent that one player needs to go and they want to go because now they know that they're not in the plans per se, then agreement would have to be reached, you know, in writing with that player. Failing that, the player can stay put for sure. He's contracted to Highlands Park or us, so we cannot just throw them in the streets. So those processes will unfold, you know. So far, those that have been, or the technical team has already indicated that they won't necessarily be in the plans. You know, there's been discussions with them and their representatives and or clubs that probably would take them on loan. Yeah, look, Owen, correctly so, has a contract or had a contract with Highlands Park Football Club. So naturally so, he would remain the head coach, so to speak, right? So, but then of course, as TS Galaxy, on the other hand, you know, we also had our own view as to perhaps what kind of a coach could deliver to this kind of a task, you know, which is quite intricate, namely to merge, you know, two teams. One that is an unknown from the PSL and the one that is known from the TS Galaxy NFT squad or team. So naturally, as the person who purchases or the club that purchases, you would want at least a person who knows the club that purchases more, so that they could merge, you know, the incoming players into that club, because it's not only about players, but the club is quite extensive. You know, we TS Galaxy, we also one such spiritual club. We've got, you know, a huge base, thousands of people who support this club in our region, Gwandebele. To start with, in Mpumalanga as a province and everywhere else in the country. So the person would need to at least understand that club. So then was a no-brainer. And more so that we didn't have the luxury of time, to be honest. The league is about to start very soon. So you would want someone who would come in and hit the ground running. So his starting base would be his understanding and knowledge of this institution, TS Galaxy, you know, and then so that he could bring and blend and merge the ones that are coming into that, as opposed to having it the other way around. So that is what actually informed then. Yeah, and he's a person or a coach that we know. When you are limited in time, you would better be with the devil you know than the one that you don't know. Dan knows TS Galaxy inside out, and vice versa. And over and above that, we have become a club that is known to be playing a particular brand, of which Dan, I think, he's the only coach in the country who plays or who gets his team to play in that way. And why is that? It's because we believe that brand of football talks to the South African content and talent per se.